like to call the Public Works and Protection meeting on October 1st, 2024. Roll call, please.
Trustee Paul?
Here.
Trustee Kruger,
Here.
Trustee Service, absent. Member Burnett,
Here.
Member Euclid,
Here.
Okay, Pledge of Allegiance. I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Action on the agenda. Any corrections or additions?
Move to approve.
Second.
First and a second. Jay, approved. Joanne, second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Action on the minutes from September 3rd, 2024. Any corrections or additions there?
Move to approve.
John for first, Jay for second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, on to action items. Consider, discuss, act on Class B beer, Class C liquor license required for Murko Green Bay LLC doing business as Picklr Green Bay. Chris?
Thank you. So I just want you to be aware the agent is online to answer any questions. Picklr Green Bay is requesting approval of the Class B combo at 2610 Holmgren Way. They are asking, again, for the complete liquor license, beer, wine, liquor, everything. They are under the understanding that it's very seldom that the board approves something like this, but so they are okay with beer and wine. They also have signed the 90-day intent, but construction could take a little longer, just so you're aware of that. They have all the paperwork in and the corresponding fees are all filed. So again, he's online if you have any questions.
Okay, Chris, we only have one license open.
Technically, we have two. We have one that's available, one that has to come before the board to just let you know that they know they didn't apply. So technically, we have two
Okay.
regulars.
Okay.
And that's with what's happened at Oneida, right? We're getting
That's one of them. Yep.
Okay.
That's the one we're basically talking about.
Yeah.
The only thing that I wasn't aware if they plan on having food, so that might be something you want to ask for the pickleball court.
Okay. Joe, you have the mic ready to go. Are you wanting to add something at this moment?
Not at this moment, but I am ready to answer questions because I'm sure you may have some.
All right, food is an issue for all extent of liquor license for, with beer, wine, and liquor. Question for the person,
need to
any
open up.
thought on food?
Because the individuals here are representing the company on the agenda, you don't need to suspend
Don't need
your
to
rules for that particular
Okay.
individual.
Yeah, it'd be great to hear about your plans for food, if you have any.
So thank you very much for taking this up amongst the board. Appreciate it. So for the most part, there will be small types of foods that are going to be available in the club. Our intention is to have a cooler in the pro shop area that's going to have some energy drinks, some hydration drinks, some energy bars, things of that nature, along with beer, wine, and basically the canned hard seltzers. Our coolers have kind of retractable garage doors on them that can be locked up over when things are off hours or overnight, things like that. But the reason that we were asking for the full liquor license was we just wanted to provide our members with full access to the canned alcoholic beverages because today in indoor pickleball venues just aren't about the courts. They're about creating this vibrant social hub where players can relax and socialize beyond the game, very much like the 19th hole in golf. And so we don't have a kitchen, and there won't be a situation where we are going to be providing food. However, we felt that if people wanted to, there's a Mexican restaurant that's right in the parking lot where we are there on Holmgren Way. People wanted to order from there and that restaurant would be willing to deliver. We certainly would be open to that. We do have a community room that's there for not only for post-game, but also for corporate events and for private events. So if somebody wanted to bring some food in, they certainly could do that via the restaurant delivery, Uber Eats, and that type of circumstance, but no real food offerings within the club.
Okay. Joe, you're aware of, normally we hold a license for a large hotel, something of that magnitude. Not having a kitchen is another issue that we strongly promote in our village here. Anybody else got something?
No, I think I'd be fine with the beer and the wine, but not the full liquor license, just because without the kitchen, we've kind of got a precedent that's been set that we won't, we don't do that without that. You've been made aware of it, I am sure. So I would go ahead and make the motion to grant the Class B beer and Class C wine license.
Okay, I've got a first. Anybody want to second it?
I'd second it.
All right, Jay first, John second. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, action on.
I'll also mention, I'm very much looking forward to your establishment opening.
Yeah, that's a nice, nice.
Hopefully I'm one of the first ones through the door. I am on the list, let's put it that way.
Perfect. Thank you all. Appreciate it.
All right, thank you.
Thank you.
Item B, consider, discuss, act on Class A beer, Class A liquor request for SPX Green Bay Hospitality LLC, doing business as Spark by Hampton, Green Bay. Chris, you're again.
So I do want to make a correction. In the full explanation, I have it as a B. I apologize. It should be an A. The title has the A. This business purchased this hotel in December of 2023. Some things have changed on here. The paperwork is filed, but I'm having a real issue with the room tax, collecting the room tax, and it's been a struggle, okay? So that is part of getting a liquor license. The agent is here. She, I think, agrees with everything I'm saying, and because she's trying to get the information too. So I just want you to be aware of that, it's been approved by the chief, but room tax wise, they're not taking it serious.
Are you saying they're not paying the room tax?
Yeah, there's part to that. There's the form to set up the room tax collection and then the payment of that room tax. And that's a provision within statute that the operator has to make those provisions whole, if you will, before a license can be granted. So at this point, I believe if that issue had been resolved, recommendation would be for approval. But because of that basis, our recommendation is to deny at the committee level. Now, they could certainly correct that issue before this item comes before the village board. They certainly have that provision, but tonight for committee recommendation, because they haven't met the statutory requirements of the application, we're recommending denial, and then this would go before the village board at the end of the month for the same consideration.
Okay, this is the first time we've ever had
Yeah.
a tax issue regarding liquor license too, so.
And
So-
Patrick, I did talk to Patrick Legal on this, and he said you could approve, but then I not issue until I get the information. But I also have made them aware that even if they get everything in now and it's still a struggle down the line, that's a basis for non-renewal come April, when that, because this has been a struggle. So I just want you to be aware. And she's here to answer any questions if you, Elena is the agent.
Hi, Elena. I'm just, question. It sounds to me like you're also trying to make this happen. Am I correct? To get the tax, okay.
We want to open the floor first if. Oh, okay. All right.
Perfect.
Hi,
Hi,
State your name and address, please.
it's for the record.
Elena Kroll, 1235 Oregon Street, Green Bay.
You want to speak into the mic, please? Okay. State your case.
Yeah,
So I'm the general manager of the hotel. I'm not the owner. And yes, we were newly bought out in December.
you're the
so my-
Sparks, right?
Yep,
Okay, all right.
yep. So we were previously the Hampton Inn, and we just got done with our renovations as we were under SPX as our legal name, but also independent, and now just opening up as Spark by Hilton. Sparks require a liquor license, so that's also something that's new to me. I have my entire staff that is trained. Half of them have applied for the operator license. I will with the other half. My owner is made aware plenty of times by me and by Chris to get ahead of the taxes. So I'm happy to work with him. I just don't, I'm not an accountant, so I don't know the
Gotcha.
tax portion.
All right.
Okay.
So based on that, I'm gonna, recommend that we deny at this point. I'm hoping that will help also with the moving of the issue forward. So I'm gonna make the motion and the recommendation that we deny
Okay.
the liquor license at this time.
Is that your motion, Jay?
Yep.
Okay, do I have a second on that?
Second.
Jay for a first, Joanne for a second, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that'll come in front of
And
the board at the
And you
end.
totally understand why we're doing it. I mean, that's what it's all about. I mean, normally if that was, like they stated, and like Chris stated, it would be a slam dunk. So you can mention that to your owner.
Okay. I will.
23rd of the month, of this month is the board meeting, or it'll come up again if you want.
Okay.
Yeah, just to clarify, 22nd, October 22nd is the village board meeting.
Oh, did I read it wrong?
Yep.
Okay.
And then, so it does come with the recommendation for denial, but should the requirements of the application be satisfied by the village board has the authority, obviously, to overturn that recommendation of denial, and make their own determination.
Okay, understand?
Yep.
Very good. Okay,
Thank you, Elena.
Thank you.
moving on to item C. Consider, discuss, act on appeal of denial operator's license, Jennifer Harrington. Any questions on this one here?
I can add some context to it. So this application was denied for administrative purposes under our policy, which is guideline 5. Upon doing the background check on the applicant, it was found that there were items that were omitted as part of the application materials related specifically to their background. As a requirement under our policy, applicants must truthfully and completely fill out the applications. For this particular committee and ultimately for the village board to uphold the appeal, the applicant would either need to, or the committee would have to determine that the applicant omitted from the application due to some type of inadvertence, mistake, or excusable neglect, and then you could theoretically overturn that appeal and grant the license. In the event that the committee determines that the information was either misapplied or not included intentionally, then the committee can certainly recommend denial. Should the board uphold that denial at their meeting on the 22nd, the applicant would need to wait 1 year before reapplying for that application, and then hopefully including the omitted components of the background check. The items that were flagged during the background check do not substantially relate to the licensing activity, but there is a felony conviction, and that is the reason and the basis for the denial is that it was omitted. Had it been included, the application likely would have been approved administratively. So the applicant is obviously here tonight and is able to speak on her behalf.
Well, I'm gonna go back to what I always say about it. We put the safety department through a lot of work, and they do a thorough job on screening these applications. And then it comes in front of us as a denial, and then we find out all this stuff from what the safety department comes up with. So that's what I stand by. If there's any other questions before we open the floor, if we want to, I just feel as though it's just something, if it wasn't brought up, it's something that's a denial. That's the way it is.
I'd like to hear from Jennifer.
All right, Jennifer, you want
That'd be
to,
great.
you want to open the floor for her to, first of all? Is that a,
Again, because this individual is specific and germane to the topic.
oh,
I
okay.
don't think you need to suspend the rules. It's only to allow somebody to speak on behalf of someone else that.
All right, Jennifer, you want to come up and state your name and address, please?
Absolutely. My name is Jennifer Harrington. My address is 1413 South Norwood Avenue. B is the actual apartment. Originally, I resided in Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta is a little bit different because the establishment falls under the umbrella of the liquor license. Because I was not familiar with applying for an operator's license, I contacted legal counsel and I said, look, I do have a background. I'm not proud of it. However, I've already done a background check for the employer to be hired into management for this particular restaurant. What do I need to do? Legal counsel advised me that the applications go back 10 years, and so that is what I put on the application. So obviously I was misinformed, and I accept that, and I am more than willing to take whatever lumps I have to for being misinformed, but there was no misintent. Everything that's happened in my background, adjudication was withheld, so I'm not technically convicted. It is in my past. I have a 10-year proven track record of being in restaurant management beyond the incidents, and I've also been in restaurant management for 32 years.
So when did this occurrence happen?
This was over 10 years ago.
Okay.
Yes, sir. And I am moved up to Green Bay because I wanted to have a slower pace of life. I have a friend that lives in neighboring Marinette. I wanted to work at a restaurant, meet good people. I've met a lot of the citizens of Green Bay. They are wonderful. And eventually, a couple of years down the road, I am 53. I'm thinking eventually I'm going to retire. And I'd like to open a small, coffee or bakery shop in the future. So keeping all of that in mind, I'm not a fly-by-night person. I'm not a person here to cause problems. I card my grandfather if I had to, and I will follow all the requirements of the licensure very, very strictly. And so that's all I can say, is I was not trying to mislead anybody.
Where'd you get your information from on 10 years?
The 10
Locally
years
or-
was from an attorney based in Atlanta. I called an attorney friend of mine, and that's what he told me. Obviously, I passed the background check when I was hired by my company, which he believed that they were concurrent, that they were 10 years. And so obviously I would have passed that, so.
Okay, any other questions?
Yeah, I do want to reiterate again that the convictions that were identified on the background check do not substantially relate to the licensing activity. So really what you're basing your decision tonight on is whether you believe that Ms. Harrington is telling you accurately and reflectively that she unintentionally omitted that information versus intentionally omitted that information. Again, the denial was largely based on an administrative procedure than it was denied on a background check issue for a conviction that substantially relates to the licensing activity. So I want to make sure that this committee is clear that the convictions that Ms. Harrington has do not substantially relate to the licensing activity. So you're really basing it on her testimony to you tonight as to whether or not she's being truthful as to why she omitted the information on her application.
And I can,
Where I am.
and I can totally understand that. So, Gary's right. I mean, we really rely on our public safety, and they step up and tell us which ones, and we try to really strictly control that. A lot of it has to do with our proximity to the Packers and things like that.
Correct.
In your particular situation, I think I would say that we would overturn the denial. That's what I would like to make the motion to, since this was over 10 years ago.
Right.
And it appears to be an omission, and I will believe you, that it was based on some legal information that you received from a friend that maybe wasn't the right thing. So
Obviously.
I'm gonna make the motion that we overturn the denial.
I'll second it.
Got a first and second. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
No.
And I'm gonna say no too. We'll just leave it as going to the board for final.
Yeah, that's correct. So a tie vote, since we don't have an odd number of individuals, we have a tie 2-2 vote. That vote does fail based on that tie. So it would go before the village board on October 22nd with a recommendation for denial based on the tie vote.
Okay.
Okay. Thank you for your
Okay,
time.
so
can-
village board, the 22nd of
We'll
this
make the
month.
final decision. No.
Yes, sir. I do appreciate that. Thank you, folks.
And Jennifer, just as a note, they did reschedule the time for October 22nd for 12 noon. So it's a daytime meeting. Okay. Thank you.
Okay, item D, CD, consider to discuss act on change of brush collection operations. Brian, it's nice to see you back again.
Thanks. I appreciate it.
You are on the mic.
Yes, I was on vacation last week for everybody who didn't pick up on Gary's sense of humor. All right, so in front of you guys tonight, if you're able to take a look at your packet, one of the attachments, there was a document in there that kind of spelled out what our current brush collection guidelines are, and then some recommended changes. So just a little bit of background on the topic. So our brush collection here occurs in the village continuously throughout the entire year. Generally, we have 2 staff members that operate that truck and chipper year-round. If there is a storm or any sort of large influx of volume of material, we will send out an additional crew. With that, it comes with some inefficiencies that I, as part of my responsibility here, try to look to create us to be as efficient as possible. But want to just kind of create some more guidelines so essentially everybody is being treated the same. No one's really abusing the system. But then as part of that, also add in hopefully some efficiencies. The biggest efficiency that I'm looking to do is have a self-reporting part of it. So you can create an app that uses our GIS system. So you just go in, record, your address, and it would essentially drop a pin on a map for us that we could then go into our tablets and access. Rather than driving through the entire village looking for brush piles, we would ultimately have points on a map that we would drive to in a more structured environment rather than canvassing the village, kind of following our garbage and recycling routes. With that, there's other guidelines in there. Some things that are looking to change, some things looking to keep the same. We also do have a part in our municipal code that if you do have greater than 1 cubic yard, so greater than 3 feet by 3 feet by 3 feet, so not a whole lot, we're supposed to charge $100. Historically, we have not charged anything, regardless of the size of the pile. One of the things that I'm looking to do is implement that there is a charge if it's greater than 10 cubic yards. So what is 10 cubic yards? Think of 10 cubic yards as being like a medium-sized sedan, or it's the exact same as one of our full tandem axle dump trucks. That's a 10 cubic yard box. That's quite a bit of material, but believe it or not, with the emerald ash borer issues, we have some addresses we're picking up 3, 4, 5, all the way up to, we've hauled away 7 truckloads, so 70 cubic yards of material. Guys have spent well over a day at some of these addresses collecting the material. I don't know, maybe that's what we're in the business of doing, and if that's what we want to be doing, you know, I'm of course looking for any sort of direction. Maybe that's how we intended it for it to be. But it does appear as though there's times when it's maybe been taken advantage of. That's something that I'm looking for a little bit more guidance. I can walk through the current guidelines, kind of talk through kind of what I'm looking to change, or just open up the floor if you do have any questions.
I have a question.
Yeah.
Does this apply to the village trees that are taken down, or just the ones in my yard?
Just the ones in your yard. So the village trees, the street trees, we take care of everything as part of those.
Okay.
So trees that are in between the sidewalk, if you have it, you know, in the back of curb or within generally 16 and a half feet of the back of curb, those are generally the street trees. And we take care of all the maintenance, chipping, stuff like that in regards to those trees.
I also love your idea, Brian, about being able to, you know, put the pins where you can go to in that. Only issue I see is the training part of that.
Yeah, it'll definitely come with some challenges. I'm not going to say it's going to be an easy transition. We are going to offer that individuals can call in, you know, just call into our office here, understanding that some people don't have computers or the technology may be,
Right.
you know, a little bit more challenging. So we do want to still offer that.
Well, you can just offer it that they call in and then who's ever sitting in the office just plops the pin down. I mean,
Correct.
that would be just fine.
Yep.
As soon as the website is redone.
Yes, we'll definitely need to create additional parts on the website. We'll have to create a new application using GIS to make it so that way it's a little bit more,
Because right now, it's just not easy to navigate to get there.
yeah.
Yeah.
It just isn't. So I love that idea, Brian. I think that's a great idea. It's going to save you time. It also gives the residents, hey, I now said I have something to come pick up. That's going to be a good thing for them to understand it. It also allows you manpower plan better because, okay, I've got 10 of them out here. Yeah, I got to get out there.
Right, right.
You know, and get that taken care of. So I think it's a great idea, but I really would like to see it get incorporated when we get the website up, and because then we can get it front and center and have the note on there that, hey, call in if you can't put the pin, and, you know, we'll do that for you. I think it's a great idea. I think that's all good.
You know, Jay, I agree with you, but listening, we are an elderly society in Ashwaubenon, and a lot of people are not high-tech, me included. Calling in, I think, is the answer I wanted to ask, and you took care of that. I talked to Brian about this a little bit this afternoon. People are really taking advantage of it.
Yeah.
And they are bringing things into this village that are not done properly, let's say.
Yep.
I think it's going to be more to the next subject than this one here, but I see a lot of, especially in my neighborhood, I've noticed it where they're cutting trees down, and our people do a lot of work. And I've always said this community does a lot for their citizens or constituents. When you get, like Brian said, 7 loads, that's almost a day's work that we're really giving away.
Yep.
I think we've got to tighten up on that somehow. I don't want to see this become a bad thing, but we got to inform the people properly so that they're well aware of what's going on here. So,
Agreed.
and I think some of them will agree with what we're talking about, so. Is this information, no, this is an action item that needs our approval on.
Yeah, I don't know, Joel, if you have any formal take on that, but ultimately, I'm just looking for some guidance, and then it'll formally go in front of the village board. We'll likely redraft some of our municipal code to kind of reflect these changes. So more just looking to open up, the conversation to see, are we all speaking the same language and what our thoughts are, and then we'll put something together formal for village board consideration.
I think
I
when we
think
get
if you're
to-
comfortable with what was proposed for changes, you can certainly make a motion to forward the recommended proposed changes to the village board for review. I think that's certainly reasonable for tonight. The one thing I'll just add to Brian's point and some of the points that the committee has made, we're not necessarily changing the level of service per se.
No.
What we're asking is just our residents to take a little bit of extra responsibility in helping us be more efficient with providing that service. That's really the key is just, if you call us in, if you call it in or put a pin on a GIS map, that makes it so much more efficient for us because now we can target and pinpoint streets, neighborhoods versus right now we're going up and down every single street every week trying to pick up brush and trying to identify things. And by having that call in, that really just helps us. And then by having the homeowners take a little bit of extra care in preparing the materials for our pickup, that will go a long way too, because now instead of spending an hour at a particular site, maybe it only takes 15 minutes because it's more efficient for us to load it or chip it or whatever we need to do with it.
Agreed.
Yeah, I think even charging a bit for some of the larger ones is a good idea too. I mean,
Yeah, that's actually one thing I was going to touch on. So I do have charges in there. They're a little bit changed. So for 11 to 20 yards, so anything over 10, so anything over a full dump truck load, looking to charge that $200. And if you get to 3 dump truck loads or more, which I could probably change that to 3. Maybe we put a maximum on that, all the way. Sorry. 11 to 20 yards is $200. Anywhere from 21 to 30 yards is $500, and then 31 yards or more will not be collected. So if you got more than 3 dump truck loads of material, we're just not going to collect it because the volume is just it's exorbitant.
We're not in that type of business, and really, if the people would ever load up their big trailer and haul it to the refuge center in Green Bay, they'd find out how much it cost. Yeah. And their time and labor and equipment they're using. So our pricing, I believe, would be fair to the residents that have a lot of whatever to be taken out.
Again, I think the biggest issue, Brian, is the communication.
Yeah, no, it's definitely
that's the challenge.
Yep, definitely something that we're going to have to make sure that we get out. Newsletters, social media. If this is something that we move forward with, we are currently in the process of putting together a garbage and recycling calendar. So maybe it's something that we mail out in addition to our garbage and recycling calendar to just make people aware that there's changes. It's not that we're looking to, get rid of services, but just make sure that we're staying equitable. To make sure that no one's abusing the system.
When we get to the next point, I got another idea on that topic too, on communication. So, but I'll move that we accept these guidelines.
Real quick, do we want to continuously offer this service, so year round, or is it something that we'd look to say do quarterly? Or I'm open to anything. Something that I looked at other municipalities, for example. Alloway only does it 8 times a year. They don't provide that service. Certain months. Howard's also 8 times a year not providing the service in winter. Bellevue only does it twice a year. Green Bay does offer it year round.
To help with the communication, Brian, why don't we align it to the way that we're doing the big refuse pickup?
Okay.
Because I just feel the less differences, the easier it's going to get communicated.
Or
understood.
maybe it's something that we do alternating months. Certain months we do brush, certain months we do bulk pickup.
But my proposal would be align it with the large refuse pickup, and then you do that at the same time. Granted, it creates a different manpower issue for you.
Yeah, that might be a staffing.
You would almost like to do it
Yeah,
the
opposite.
opposite.
Yeah, because of staffing.
Right.
I like the opposite.
Well, I do from our perspective, but the problem is we're gonna have a hard time getting everybody out there to figure that out.
Yeah, and I think too, just with, especially like in summer months when most of this is likely to happen, if it's coming every other month, it's not. I mean, I guess that's an aspect that we liked about the village is that it would come pretty much throughout summer. And, you know, maybe we can look at suspending it in winter, but I think keeping it like at least on a monthly throughout summer is nice or something like that.
Okay. Brian, are you looking to have this implemented by the first of the year? Because I know you always send out a yearly calendar on what happens.
Yes.
So,
Yep, that's the
okay,
timing.
so if something will happen prior to the first of the year, then,
We might do a soft rollout with the app before that, you know, for people to sign up to start getting people,
Okay.
you know, aware of it. But when it comes to the changes in the guidelines and, you know, if we do revise the schedule, it wouldn't be until the first of the year.
Yeah.
I think what, maybe my recommendation would be, right now it takes, I think, about 3 weeks to get through the entire village at present. So 1 week out of a month is dedicated to large bulk item, and then the remainder weeks are dedicated to brush pickup. So my recommendation at this point is maybe just leave that the same. By implementing the application and the call-in, we can begin to understand more definitively the volume of need or of need of service throughout the calendar year. So maybe it is at that point in the winter, maybe January and February, they're pretty slow months when it comes to brush pickup.
Yeah.
And next year, then we say, okay, we're going to discontinue brush pickup those months that are slower.
Yeah.
Now that we've collected the data as of right now, I don't know that we're anecdotally, we may have a good understanding of when those heavy months are and when those lighter months are. But by having this data readily available, we'll make a very informed decision as to when those months are of heavy use versus light use.
It'll also allow us by doing the self-reporting, you know, there'll be a backside of it where we'll be able to see, you know, is this been a resident that's continually, you know, recording, you know, that they need to use the service, where likely we may be able to track if it's a contractor that's maybe running a business out of his house and we're continually going there to get brush.
Yeah.
Because unfortunately, I think that is happening. We just,
Oh, yeah.
we haven't had the ability to get a handle on it. But once you have to do the self-reporting, we'll have, hey, we've been picking up brush every week here. And a lot of our guys know those troublesome areas because they spend a lot of time there.
Yeah.
But at least we'll have timestamps, so a little bit more of a control.
Brian, I read someplace in here regarding a bad storm coming through.
Yep.
Then we'd go back and clean everything up as if needed.
What we would do
depending
then is
upon
we would
what-
just open things up, that we just start doing canvassing the village. And at that point in time, we honestly shift gears. It's not 2 guys on 1 truck. It's
Right.
usually 2 loaders, 4 dump trucks. It's a whole different operation because we just want to get our village back together and get people back to normal.
Okay, somebody want to make a motion?
I want a question. I'm an elderly woman, and if I have a couple branches down in my backyard and I drag them to the curb, you're going to charge me $100?
No, so you will only be charged, it's currently, it's $100 if it's over 1 cubic yard, but we've never charged that. That's just what's in our municipal code. We have not been following our municipal code. What I'm proposing, that if you're greater than 10 cubic yards, so a medium-sized sedan, then you would get charged. If
Okay.
you're less than that, if you're, you know, like you said, you know, a handful of sticks, there's no charge. But once you get bigger than that medium-sized sedan, 1 whole dump truck load, then you start getting charged.
Oh, I can live with that.
We don't have the time administratively to start charging everyone, and nor does anyone want that.
Well, at this time, do we really want to make a motion on this? Because it sounds to me like you want to go back and refine this and get this into an actual ordinance type of situation. I think you were just looking for recommendations right now, correct?
Yeah, ultimately, there's going to need to be some code amendments or changes. So, you know, if I guess if there was dispute amongst the committee as to the direction it would go, a motion would be appropriate. But it sounds like I think we have a clear understanding of what the recommendation is.
I know Brian's been, well, the staff, I'm just going to say, but I know Brian's been doing some work investigating this, which is why this has been brought up, so.
Yeah, you don't want to know how many hundreds of thousands of dollars it
I know,
costs
and
to
I'm
put
not
up
going to
the
ask
service.
that question because I know that, did you take the time to do it?
I did take the time.
All right, then I'll ask the question,
So
how
right
much
now,
is it
we're just
costing?
over $300,000 a year to provide this service. That includes the equipment, so depreciation, fuel in the equipment, the manpower, and then ultimately all of the parts that go into keeping that equipment running.
Okay.
So it's a nice service to have, but it's also expensive to have guys just driving through the village when there's other things we could be focusing our efforts on.
Okay, so somebody want to make a motion on this? Jay, you kind of had this.
Well, yeah, and that's what I was saying. I'm not sure that, because it sounds to me like we're gonna get this coming back in an ordinance form. So I don't know that we really need I don't know that we need a motion right now, do we? What's your call, Joe?
No,
mean, I'm more
I don't
willing-
think you do. I think what we'll end up doing is we'll take, I mean, a lot of the stuff in here were points that Brian and his staff have come forward with. I think we can formalize those in a written summary and then an amendment to code. We bring that back through committee. Ultimately, that information gets then published on our website. We send that out through our newsletter. The code gets amended. So I think we have enough feedback to run with. I think the motion would be necessary again if there was maybe a disagreement or a dispute as to how to handle it.
So it'll come back to committee before it goes to the board, okay. Okay, then moving on to item E, consider, discuss, act on change of rubbish, large items collection operations. Brian, you again?
All right, so this is a kind of a similar discussion, just a different service that we provide. So you may be aware, we have rubbish, bulky waste, large item. It's referred to as multiple different things here in the village. What we're finding is, unfortunately, we have those repeat users of this service. Some of the material we feel as though, I shouldn't say we know has been generated outside of the village of Ashwaubenon. So what we'd like to do is not only have a self-reporting system, also kind of put guidelines in place as for how much material we'll collect. Also state that we will no longer collect material from multifamily residents. So right now, say someone moves from an apartment complex, from one apartment complex to a different one. Sometimes we literally will have an entire apartment's worth of furniture, everything sitting out at the curb that we're out there picking up. Along with that, potentially looking to, currently we do it monthly. Unfortunately, this material during the winter gets buried under snow. Our trucks that we use for plowing the snow is also used for the same activity. So we generally have 4 trucks out on this. We do have to strip our trucks of all their snow equipment, salt their, and plow on the front. Have to, essentially pull everything off, get the trucks ready for rubbish, hope that there's no snow, and then put them back together after this work activity is done. Generally, that process for one mechanic takes about a day and a half. So 4 trucks, you got, ultimately 6 days buried into pulling trucks apart and putting them back together, just so we can be ready for the next snow event. So just looking to, is it a service that we want to provide in the winter? Do we need to provide it in the winter? Do we need to provide it every month? Along with that is one of the big things that I want to discuss too is right now we commit to picking up your rubbish on your garbage day. The challenge that creates is there's certain days where the guys can make it through that garbage route and they're done by 10 o'clock. And there's other days they're done at 2 o'clock. And what that does is it creates challenges in our operations because say these guys are usually part of a concrete crew. Okay, well now we can't get concrete for the afternoon, but we're ready to pour concrete. Or they're out on the tarring crew and hey, we didn't heat up the tar kettle today because we thought we had rubbish and we're done at 10 o'clock and we'd love to be out tarring. But unfortunately things went more efficient than what we had hoped. So looking to change it that during those rubbish weeks, ultimately your rubbish has to be out on Monday for everyone. And we would start canvassing the entire village. So those operations would just be continuous throughout their work activity. So we set those trucks up for rubbish collection. The loaders get their grapple buckets and everything like that. And for us to switch gears, there's definitely inefficiencies in that. So we're always kind of having this filler work towards the tail end of the days where if we could ultimately just run that operation from start to finish, shift gears, go into a different operation, allows for those trucks to be back together sooner. If we are pulling them apart in the winter, and just creates efficiencies on our end. Also looking to potentially have self-reporting, like we talked about for the brush collection. So we know where we're going. We don't have to canvass the entire village. Maybe a given month, there's only, say, 25 pickup locations. We only have to drive to those 25 spots rather than drive over 100 miles of roads just to canvass the village.
Yeah, I definitely would agree with you, Brian, on all of your points. And I like the idea that we can start to pinpoint where you need to go instead of you going up and down all the streets, in a particular week. I also like the change to just April, June, August, and October. I think so many people, when they're doing projects, they store stuff anyways. One thing that I would like to see us maybe start to offer then, and I'm throwing this out as an idea, I'm not saying, but could we offer a place like we have our brush and garden waste where people could bring rubbish?
So that is something that I discussed with our management team and our staff. The one concern that we had with that is the same concern that we have with our brush site the way it is
Yep.
unfortunately I feel like we're getting everyone. So
Yeah.
without actually having a person there manning it or attending it to make sure that we're getting only Ashwaubenon residents, because that is something that I discuss with our staff. Maybe that's something that we offer for the winter. Maybe there's a week in the winter, but if we are going to offer it, it would have to be during our business hours when there's an individual there.
Yeah, agreed.
Otherwise, we're going to get stuff from everywhere.
Totally agreed.
Well, and the people also might, like it says here, things that you can't drop off, they might drop that off there anyways and be like, well, now it's the village's problem to get rid of my old fridge or whatever.
Correct. Yep. Very good point.
Yeah, we'd have to have somebody there, that's for sure.
We've had that some time ago. We used to have dumpsters inside the compound by the garages there, and people screwed that up,
Yep,
and we took it away from them.
agree.
So
Yeah,
we've tried some of this already, but, I think the biggest offenders we got are some people bringing stuff into the village to their friends, relations, and whoever, and I've seen it already.
Oh, sure.
And that would probably eliminate a lot of that, so I think we're headed in the right direction on this particular item
Yeah.
of figuring out how we can stop some of this.
I think even a lot of people already put their stuff out on like Sunday night a lot of times anyways, so it really, I don't think that would change much if it had to be out before their, even like Sunday nights, they had to have it out.
Now, again, I'm gonna bring up the communication. Yeah, it's a pet one of mine, and you guys are aware of that. May I suggest that, when we're gonna implement this change, and you could even include the brush part of this, let's produce stickers that we have the guys go out and put on there if they're an A or a B. I'll guarantee you, people don't know that. As much as we try to communicate that stuff, I had a month ago, my neighbor on the wrong week put out the recycling bin. You know what happened to the entire block?
Put out the recycling bin.
Everybody put out the recycling bins. So I would like to see us produce stickers. I know it's not a super expensive thing. I know there'll be a little labor for your guys to go around and put them right on the garbage cans. And on there, you could put in some of this information. Here's when rubbish is going to be picked up. You're the A week or you're the B week type of thing. You could even put in here some of the charges and try to communicate that. I'm just trying to find another thing that's going to be stuck right in front of their face. And if you stick that on their garbage can as a good hard sticker on there, at least you can say, hey, it was on your garbage can. You should have seen that. Instead of them, well, we sent it out in the water bill and everybody just goes, oh, there's my bill and throws everything else away. you know?
I agree with what you're saying, Jay, because I think our guys, I've seen them get out of their trucks on an overloaded bin because it didn't fall into the hopper, and then pick it up, put it back into the person's container and do a second lift. You know, we got to stop some of this stuff, and it's great that people, our employees do that, but
Yeah.
you know, some people just.
So that would be a suggestion I would have, Brian, on the communication side of it. Granted, you know, a couple of your guys are going to, in a couple of weeks, have to be out there and plastering, you know, stickers on garbage cans and things like that, which isn't gonna be the funnest thing, but.
Can't
you
that
know,
go on a water bill, Jay? Well, like you said, they throw the rest away, yeah.
Yeah,
Yep,
I would
yep.
love to see a sticker on the garbage can. And, you know, nobody's gonna care that there's a sticker on the garbage can, although you will get the phone calls. There'll be somebody that didn't like that they messed up their garbage can. But I believe a sticker outlining this change and communicating the different months now that we're gonna pick up rubbish, and even if you wanna go to the extent to do the brush thing, and point out that if there's so much put out, here's what your charges are. Highlight those things, you know, I'm talking, it's probably gonna be an 11 by 8 sticker, but there's, you know, figure out how it's gonna stick on that can and stay on that can. Cause I'm not talking for it to be a temporary post-it note, I'm talking about a permanent sticker going on that can. I just think that would help communication.
Right. Are you thinking that it would be a singular sticker kind of making the residents aware of all these changes? We would do it kind of once and then.
Yep.
Hopefully we make a good decision where we're able to stick with our recommendations for
Correct.
a period of time. And the sticker will be relevant for an
No.
extended period of time.
No pressure, Brian.
So, one thing I'll add, maybe, and I think Jay will appreciate it, but maybe not certain residents, but how many elderly people have smartphones nowadays? I think most of them do, right? So if we're gonna do the sticker, might I suggest maybe looking at doing like a QR code sticker? And then all you have to do is take your phone and take your camera on your phone. Most people that have a smartphone know that, okay, I can scan that, and that'll be part of the communication, right? You can scan it. And by doing that, it'll bring you right to our website that's dedicated to these types of issues.
Yeah.
And that in the event that any of the rules or anything changes, it can be
that
modified on the website.
Yeah.
And then you won't have to have a 11 by 12 or 11 by 17 sticker on the garbage cart. It's just a QR code. Hey, if you forgot what day your recycling is, scan the QR code. Hey, do you forget what items can go inside your recycling bin? Scan the QR code.
Yeah.
It's right there. It's at your fingertips.
we
Then
can
you don't have to muddle through our webpage trying to click through 8 different links to.
And
Get to where you
that's
wanna
the
be.
challenge, because even myself, if I'm gone and I come back, I'm going, okay, I know I'm this week. What route are they on this week? You know, you got to always cross-reference two things.
You just gotta look at the neighbor next door.
Yeah, exactly.
Until they get it wrong.
You're looking at your neighbor.
Until they're wrong.
Exactly. What's he doing? So, but I would still make sure that you get the week on there, because I don't see that changing. I just don't.
I will add that there's 2 things that residents really care about. They care about people speeding on their street.
That's
It's
correct.
usually the number one complaint we get. And they care about how they can get rid of their junk.
Oh, yeah.
So if we can build a robust web page within our site that kind of is more user-friendly, more mobile-friendly, things of that nature, that is easier to access than what we currently have, then we have that ability to scan that QR code so that it can be adaptable when changes come up.
I like
It
that.
could be a really good way to communicate to our residents, all those types of issues and changes. With that, Brian's working on this idea or concept of GIS and really kind of incorporating that. And as people become more and more familiar with it, they'll find some real benefit to the utility. In particular, you could track, like if we could get to the point where we're tracking our trucks where they are, you can pull up on a map and say, oh, they're like 2 blocks from my house. I better get my garbage cart out now. That kind of level of detail that is available technologically.
Right.
We just haven't implemented it yet.
But on Thursday, they're sitting at the Shell station at 9 o'clock in the morning, so.
Well, they got to have their donuts, right? So it's all good.
I think your QR code is
I like-
probably the way to go because I'm noticing it
I
more
like the
and
idea.
more on vehicles.
Yeah.
Commercial vehicles, that's where you're gonna get your information. And
But
like you say, Joel, you can change it and everybody knows
And
about
I just
it.
like the idea of putting a sticker on it and making them aware, hey, changes are coming. You know, here's where you can find the information. That's gonna raise the curiosity so people will go out there and take a look. But I do like the QR code. That's
The only challenge that we have with the QR code, and I think it's a great idea, I want to implement this hopefully first of the year, and I wish stickers would work really good on plastic when it's cold, but unfortunately they
It
don't.
don't work, it don't work.
Putting sticker on vinyl when it's cold is a challenge, so that's something that we may have to work through. Maybe
Yeah.
the stickers won't be January 1st, they may have to wait till April,
That's fine.
but something that we'll have to keep in mind. Unfortunately, stickers just, they like to warm when you're putting them on vinyl objects, so.
Agreed.
You can always paint it on.
That would be challenging, the QR code, because it has to have a lot of detail.
Yeah.
It's precise.
Yeah.
Yeah, weather definitely is a problem.
Yep.
Don't ask me to letter your window in cold weather, because I'm not coming.
Right.
But one of the things I think that we will face with this is the communication of it. I mean, because everybody's been so used to doing it
Oh, yeah.
this way.
Yep.
That's why the more things we can do to communicate it and to make people go look for it, I think are very important.
Very true.
That's why I waited until Sarah got here. Got a communications person.
As you peek in the room there and say, hey, guess what? So, but I don't have any problem with any of these rules, you know. The enforcing of the $100 for this and that's gonna be a challenge no matter what we do.
Yep.
So,
What are the thoughts on the frequency, the only 3 times per year? Because that is a big change. You know, we do it monthly now. What we do find out is, unfortunately, as we're doing it monthly, people are taking objects that generally can just be put in their garbage can, and a lot of times, unfortunately, if the rubbish crew gets ahead of the garbage crew, they'll have bags of stuff that are sitting next to the rubbish or next to their trash bin that the guys will literally pick up and throw into the garbage bin for the garbage truck to get.
I believe.
Because people get so used to, hey, it's rubbish week, I'm not going to pick up that big black bag. I'm going to leave it as heavy as I'll get out. And the guy will have to pick up that bag that's full of drywall. He'll put it in the bin rather than, you know, potentially putting it in smaller pieces and stuff like that. I don't know if there is a strong desire to have it be, you know, every month. I feel like that's somewhat opening the door to getting a lot of other municipalities' waste in the village here, just because we are so frequent. A lot of other municipalities, not saying we need to be like everyone else, but provide the service very infrequently. Sometimes, you know, Green Bay is 4 times a year, De Pere's 2 times a year. Alloway is close to us. Alloway is 10 times per year. Howard, they do it continuously, but they also request that you have to do the self-reporting. So you have to go online and do it and record it. So, what are the thoughts on frequency?
I think your frequency, Brian, you know, you have it in here, you know, it's 3 or 4, but you call out 4 months in here. I think those 4 months would be good. I really do. I don't know what anybody else thinks.
Yeah, I was thinking quarterly myself.
Yeah, that'd be pretty good. Sorry, go ahead, Gary.
Any other comments?
I mean, even just,
We would just direct it to you and bring it back when you get the fine print taken care of.
yeah, even if, you know, if there is some pushback on it, just even eliminating winter months, so that way you're not wasting all that time, and, you know, like I said, stuff, if it snows, it gets buried and just sits there still, so I think even at least that would be something to start with, if, you know, that or the 3 or, you know, 4 times a year would be, any of that would be good.
I appreciate that, because we honestly have had at times before where we send a tractor backhoe out digging the stuff out of the snowbanks. It's a very cumbersome process.
I also think on the selling end of this, to sell this change, that if you say, look, we just aren't doing it in the snow months, I think that's a pretty understandable thing. Because we're gonna get pushback on this one, for sure.
Oh, yeah.
Well, and especially too, like, you know, I didn't know how long it would, you know, all the work that you guys put into just getting the trucks ready to do that, especially during the winter months when, like I said, I just hope it doesn't snow during that
Yeah,
time.
yeah,
frame, 'cause you're
that's
using up-
honestly what we're doing. We hope that
You're
it
using
doesn't
up plow
snow.
trucks for it.
If it does snow, it's just, it takes longer to get everything plowed.
Yep.
You can't schedule snowfalls?
Not yet. I'm working towards it.
Is that another one in a GIS project?
Yes.
So I think you're very justified, Brian, to call out these months that you have in here, because you can use them saying, look, those are the months where we aren't dealing with snow. Our equipment is in the position that we can do this service, but the other times of the month, you know, we have our equipment in position to take care of snow.
Right.
Maybe it can kind of be something like Joel was saying for the brush pickup, where with the GIS system, if we maybe just eliminated the winter months and just did more spring and summer, we could see through the self-reporting, oh, maybe July is a slow month. We can skip, maybe down the line, we can skip that month too, or just something like that to see how it turns out.
Yeah, the other thing I think we open ourselves up to doing it monthly is we do get a lot of monthly, when people leave their apartments, we get just, a whole slew of stuff. It's kind of impressive, but yet sad how wasteful some people are. But
You definitely know when the 31st of the month comes around driving down the street. There's no doubt about that. Okay, anything else? So we're just going to let you bring back the final draft then, and we'll roll from there.
yes. Yep.
Okay, they'll come back to staff again, then move it on to the village board at a later date. Okay. Okay, items for next agenda. If you got anything, bring it to staff. Other than that, I will obtain a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second.
First by Jay, second by Joanne, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carried. Thank you very much for your time.